Italy, a sudden massive hailstorm has caused extensive damage across Italy, paralyzing major cities and devastated vast agriculture areas. This extreme weather struck late Monday night, battered region from Lombardy to Tuscany, with hailstones the size of a golf ball and the wind exceeded 100 km per hour. It left a trail of destruction, flooding and chaos. Residents in Milan, Bologna and Parma reported scenes of panic in the dark storm cloud relating in an eerily sunlight within minutes. It was followed a different onslaught, hail smashed roofs, shattered car windows and tearing streets and frozen rivers. It sounded like an explosion, said Franza Bianchi, a shop owner in the Milan. The hailstorm hit so hard they bent to mental separate inward. The fire department across northern Italy received over 2,000 emergency calls, reporting to trapped drivers and clearing roads buried under the layer of ice. Power lines shattered, trees and uprooted an entire region, plunged into darkness overnight. Train services were halted in multiple areas, while the Milan Malnesa Airport and Bologna Guglielmo Marconi Airport experienced a delay in cancellation due to heavy hail estimated on runways. Italy Environmental Minister has promised to new plan to rebuild the south, including flood protection and reforestation measures, improvement to early warning system, but critical say this measure alone overdue. In Palermo, the sun broke through the grey sky, elimination of the messy aftermath in the night of Sicilian will not soon forget. We use a hardship, said Maria Conte, the grandmother, whose home was flooded, but we will drive flood, support each other and move on. Sicily is beginning to recover, but questions remain. Will the storm the wake-up call just another serious ignore of warnings? Meteorologists from the Italian Air Force Meteorological Center attributed the phenomenon of supercell storm. They explained it in a result from the sudden collisions between most air from the Tyrrhenian Sea and a cold front air masses moving south from the Central Europe. The constant created the perfect environment for the formation of giant hailstones, explained senior meteorologist Elena Moretti. Public transportation suffered severe disruption, with the metro line E temporarily suspended due to flooding at multiple stations. Major artery roads in the city experienced severe traffic conditions, paralyzed urban function. Authority urged residents to avoid non-essential outing, while drainage channels and the road continue to be clear. Experts warn this phenomenon is a part of concerned terrain. Climate analyst Dr. Paolo Rossi stated, these extreme weather events are not longer isolated occurrences, they are increasing in frequency and intensity, representing a direct sign of climate change impacting the Mediterranean basin. Amid the chaos, no fatalities were reported, though the several people sustained minor injuries from the flying debris. As a calm returned, Rome was reminded once again ever is timeless, beauty cannot escape the growing fury of nature. Citrus, grove, vineyards, and olive orange in the eastern Sicily were heavily damaged. Farmer Maria Russo near Catania said, "The hail destroyed it weeks in the work in minutes. Our harvest is gone." Local authority estimated preliminary damage in the million of euros. Social media was flooded with the dramatic videos and the hail bouncing off historic buildings. Streets transformed into the city rivers, and the residents helped each other to navigate the flooded areas. Lightning and the thunder added to the chaotic scene, where the palm trees and old city was bored the both of strong wind. Meteorologists warn that the storm-like are becoming more frequent due to climate change. With the increased atmospheric instability across the Mediterranean, Dr. Alessandro Conte, a climate expert, noted, "Warners see a more humid air, the falling storm of unpredictable intensity in the Sicily and across southern Europe. By nightfall, cleanup crews work to clear debris, restore traffic, and assess structure damage. Residents emergency casually to inspect their constant streets, capturing strikers, emerge and incense Sicily town under the blanket of hail." Palermo, Italy. A powerful storm swept through the Sicilian capital overnight, unleashed torrential rain, violent winds, and lifting parts and plunged parts of the city into chaos. The downpour, which began late Sunday, lasted several hours of flooded major roads, homes, and businesses across Palermo and nearly town. According to the Italy Severe Protection Agency, over 19 millimeters of rain fell in 2 hours, one of the hardest rainfall recorded in the recent years. The city and the drainage system was quickly overwhelmed, tuning main arteries with the valley region, Sicily, and the fast-flowing rivers. Cars were seen drifting through the streets and emergency crews raising their rescue standing drivers. It was like a water flow pouring from the sky, said resident Giovanni Bianchi. "Those ground flood apartment was submerged. I lived these 40 years and never seen rain like this." Authority reported dozens of emergency interests from the clearing fallen trees and rescue elderly residents trapped flooded buildings. Several neighboring, including Sierra Monzetta and Partinico, suffered blackouts after lightning strikes damaged power lines.
Non ci credo. Oddio. Qua. La moto. La macchina.
Historic landmarks were not spared. In the central historic hall, water spilled in the Pizzas and courtyard garden, with the coffees and markers suffered damage in a waiting in outdoor setting. Local farmers reported significant crop losses in Lilezzo, with a greenhouse and vineyard battered by ice. Social media exploded with the dramatic footage, hail bouncing off car, fountains of overwhelmed, and streets turned into icy rivers. Residents were left shaken yet resilient. "We have weathered many storms, but this one felt apocalyptic." Authorities have urged caution by the city begin cleaning up. Experts warn that such extreme weather events are becoming more frequent due to climate change, highlighting Rome's vulnerability to sudden destructive storm. The storm has left the city both in a shaken, the stark reminder that even the eternal city is one of the mercy of nature's fury.
I'd say so, Bob. This is a big storm. Hail, heavy rain.
Meteorologists attribute the storm to a collision between most Mediterranean air and cold floor northern currents, which create conditions to supercell over central Italy. These sudden connective storms can release enormous energy in a very short time, explained Dr. Paolo Rinaldi, a meteorologist with the Italian Meteorological Service. The storm also caused significant damage to agriculture in the Lazio region, where vineyards and olive groves were hardest hit heavy hail, causing millions of dollars in damage. According to preliminary estimates, Farmers such as Monaco Bianchi and Frascati described the event devastation as it destroyed two entire crews in a matter of minutes. Social media was flooded with a video showing hailstones bouncing the historic moments, water pounding down the Spanish steps, and the residents wandering the frozen streets. Authority urged people to stay indoors, and emergency service walking through the night to clear debris and restore transport. Experts warn that the storm this intensity may become more frequent due to climate change, with the increase in atmospheric instability and contributed to extreme weather events throughout the Mediterranean region. As night fell, Rome was transformed into a surreal scene, and its monuments glistered under the layer of ice. Streets were littered with the fallen branches and damaged cars, a stark reminder and unpredictable power of nature in the heart of the eternal city. Germany continues to deal with the aftermath in the storm, the extent of the damage is becoming increasingly clear. In addition to the immediate damage, long-term environmental, the economic impact of the extent, the agriculture sector, although vulnerable due to previous unpredictable weather conditions, is facing potentially devastation losers. The agriculture sector, although vulnerable due to previous unpredictable weather conditions, is facing potentially devastation losers. Initial reports from the farmers indicate the crops such as wheat, cane, barley, hence severely damaged by the floods and winds, especially in key agriculture regions such as Lower Saxony and Bavaria. The storm also caused damage on livestock farm where the animals will be evacuated due to rising water level. Agriculture associations were calling to government to provide emergency aid, warning the immediate action to not taken. The economic consequences could be severe. In the densely population Rust region will be hit by significant flooding. Authorities are now forcing to restoration-based service, water treatment plants and temporarily overloaded due to heavy rain, leading concerns about the confirmation in some areas. While official issue a public that the situation was under control, they urged residents to bathe the water and precautionary measures until the further notice. Environmental agencies are monitoring rising lakes and possible checked lakes to industrial facilities that were flooded during the storm. Concerns are growing the population could have a long-term impact on local ecosystem, including the fish wildlife population. One of the key challenges facing the authority is restoration of vital infrastructure. In some regions, brigades have had damage completely washed away by the flood waters, leaving isolated communities without easy access and neighbor town. Engineers are working to assess the infrastructure integrity of this brigade, but it could take months on the fully repair or replace them. Damage of roads, railroads, and power lines is also highlighting Germany's urgent need to invest in climate resilience infrastructure. Experts have long warned that much of the country infrastructure is not adapted to the extreme weather events and becoming more frequent as the global temperature rise. Germany Green Plan, which has been a leading voice of the nation's stronger climate policy, to call immediate action. Party leaders noted the storm is another example of consequences of inaction of climate change. The storm has also intensified the public debate of Germany energy transition. Engineers whether the aid of the country resilience of the fuel for a renewable source and the wind is solar power. Thus, the government makes significant progress in transition creates agriculture more need to be done to ensure that Germany's energy grid can be cope to extreme weather conditions. After the storm, some renewable emergency facilities such as wind turbines, the damage of high winds, raising questions about to make renewable energy infrastructure and more weather resistance. Germany is looking to the future, and this is a wake-up call not only the political but also the general public. Discussion about the climate change resilience are no longer abstract. The devastation surfer crisis down farms across the country is brought to issue the forefront of the national consequences. It's not the growing to issue to federal and state government stretch disaster preparedness strategies and provide better protection to communities for the future storm, floods and heat waves.
Por Dios, voy a ir a recoger un cafecito a mi compa.
This week, a violent hailstorm struck southern Germany, hitting Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg with unprecedented force. Hailstorm the size of a golf ball in the same era's tennis ball pelted down from about 13 minutes caused devastation damage rarely seen in the region. According to the German weather service, the storm rapidly developing of the Alps before the moving northward. Meteorologist Thomas Heat explained it was perfect storm combining high humidity, unstable air and strong temperature difference. He stated the hail crosses reached extreme high, generated massive destructive hailstorm. In Munich, neighboring and Augsburg, thousands of residents shared video of hail blanket their cities. Winter scene and flooded immediately out of place in early autumn. Roofs were destroyed, cars were dented beyond the reach, and trees stripped of hail and their leaves. It was a dented sound. Emergency response teams were dispatched to multiple districts as the roads were blocked by the flooding and debris.
Amo, vai di là, chiudi.
Offering the lifeline in these terrifying times, agriculture sector and the backbone of Sicily economy is not immune to the storm impact. Orange in the field and inundated, posing to threat to groups of livelihood. Farmers already facing challenges in recent years are now too late to continue with the aftermath of this natural disaster. As the storm intensifies, rescue operations are underway to ensure the safety of residents trapped in the rising water. Emergency service blocked by the local volunteers to navigate in treacherous conditions to reach those in need. Evacuations are being carried out systemically, proportions to most vulnerable members of the community. Italy's government, in collaboration with the regional authority, is mobilizing rescue to address the crisis. Prime Minister Matteo Renzi has declared a state of emergency in Sicily, unlocking additional funds to rescue and in recovery efforts. The Italian Red Cross and other humanitarian organizations are also coordinated relief operations to provide essential supplies and support to affected communities. While the storm continues to batter Sicily, the resilience and solidarity in the people shine through. Neighbors are leading to helping hand and communities are coming together to face and changing poison to natural disaster. Local authority urged residents to stay at home and avoid travel to roads and rail, more driving conditions dangerous. Emergency services were also called to help with the deal in the aftermath of the storm, including clearing roads and ASFDs affected. The hail comes as Italy, like much of Europe, experienced unseasonably cold weather. Forecasts predict that the extreme weather could continue for several days with some storms of heavy rain expected across the country. Although Rome is no stranger to extreme weather events, the sudden intensity and hailstorm cut off guard as residents begin the process to cleaning up and repairing the damage caused by the storm. They will adapt it by keeping a close eye on weather forecast in the coming days. The storm, which has intensified in Mediterranean Sea over the past few hours, has taken a character as a full-fledged cyclone. Winds around the reach and sometimes exceeded gusts of 100 km/h at the sea was through. In the coming days, severe storm will wake up to 5 to 6 meters high and peaks up to 8 meters are expected in the low Mediterranean Sea between the southwestern provinces of Campania, especially Cilento and Calabria, as well over most of Sicily and the Ionian Sea and the entire Adriatic. Tomorrow they shift the low-pressure system towards the Adriatic with a mainly effect to eastern basins. So let's take a look at the details. parts of the southern Italy are trying to recover from the torrential rain that caused a devastating flood in Sicily. Flooding cities, blocked roads, and leaving thousands of people without electricity. Officials have called the disaster a national emergency. Within hours, the streets of Palermo, Catania, and Messina turned into raging rivers that swept away cars and flooded the first floor to homes and businesses. The Italian Civil Protection Agency reported that more than 115 millimeters of rain fell in less than 20 hours, an amount that usually falls over several months. Local resident Maria Russo told reporters, "The water came so fast that in a matter of minutes my streets turned into river. We didn't have time to have anything." Emergency service rescue families standing on rooftops and firefighters worked throughout the night clearing debris and pumping water out of hospitals and schools. At least 20,000 households were left without power and many villages remain isolated after landslides blocked acid roads. Authorities confirmed several injuries, at least 3 deaths, although death toll could rise in such countries.
Nebbia d'acqua, non si capisce niente.
This is a classic Mediterranean instability event, explained Dr. Elisa Conte from Italy's National Weather Service. Here, atmosphere were loaded in energy, and when it broke, the rainfall was explosive. A severe hailstorm swept across the northern Italy, battered cities from Milan to Bologna, with ice stones the size of a tennis ball and leaving a trail of destruction across the region. The storm, which broke out late on Wednesday evening, turned streets into rivers and the ice and causing chaos in that meteorologists describe it as one of the most severe hailstorms in the Italy's recent history. Residents of Lombardy and Emilia-Romagna described scenes of panic and thunder rumble overhead and a huge hailstone pounded roofed cars and crops. "It felt like the sky was falling," said Franessa Rossi, a resident of Parma. "The noise was different. We thought the window would explode." Local authorities reported hundreds of emergency calls. Firefighters worked through the night and rescue standing motorists to clear fallen trees. In Bergamo, entire neighborhoods were left without power, and strong winds and ice built up damaged power lines. A sudden violent hailstorm struck Rome, Italy, covering part of the capital in ice and causing severe disruption to daily life. The storm, which erupted late in the afternoon, estimated both residents and tourists with the intensity transformed the eternal city into the unreal winter scene in the middle of autumn. According to Italy's Civil Protection Agency, hailstorm the size of walnuts fell continuously for about 20 minutes, damaged vehicles, shattered windows, and returning through outdoor restoring a wood. Emergency service prevented hundreds of rescue requests, particularly in central and northern districts like Pirelli, Prati, and Flaminio, where roads flooded instantly. The traffic came to complete standstill. Video posted online showed vehicles plummeting through the thick layer of hail and pedestrians seek shelters on the sidewalks and subway station away. Local residents Gianni Ganti, caught in the storm on her way home, said it was like a blizzard. "I could believe this was Rome."
Questo è un grosso problema, molto grosso. Porta via il negozio qua.
Germany was hit by a powerful and fast-moving storm that swept across the country overnight, leaving a trail of destruction from Bavaria to North Rhine-Westphalia. Strong winds exceeded 120 km/h, torrential rain, intense lightning strikes disrupted transport links, damaged infrastructure, and caused hundreds of emergency rescue operations. In Munich, streets remained flooded after hours of continuing rain. Trains stopped running, flights and French Josephstrain airport were delayed, and a passenger forced traffic jams. It was terrible. The wind howled like a train and the rain poured down sideways, said Clara Hoffman, a local resident, whose balcony was destroyed by the storm. Further north in Cologne and Düsseldorf, powerful gusts of winds uprooted trees and smashed cars. Emergency service responded to more than 2,000 calls, including flood in basements and damaged power lines. The German Meteorological Service issued the highest weather warning, urged residents to stay indoors. Sadly, at least 2 deaths have been reported, once in Bavaria where 3 fell on a car and another in Saxony due to flash flooding. Authority warning that river levels, particularly on the right and Alp, remain dangerously high and continuously rainfall reserves.
Guardate ragazzi! Guardate un po'! Guardate un po' ragazzi! Sono vinto!
Venice, Italy, the famous floating city, was once again have been brought to a knit a worth of nature. During the night, a powerful storm hit Venice, accompanied by torrential rain, strong winds and severe flooding, which left much of the city underwater. Waves crashed into a lagoon and gusts reached speed of over 100 km/h, raising the sea level on this highest point in this year. Residents are awakened to a howling wind and southern on series of cities moist. A flooding protection system was activated to protect Venice with the rising waters. Despite the borough's severe areas, including St. Mark's Square and the rail tow, were flooded. We have seen floods before, but this was terrible. The water rose so quickly, said local shop owner Giulia Ferraro. Those business was knee-deep in water. Tourists caught in the sudden storm wandered through the flooded alleys in plastic boats, with the rescue service walking through the night and the rescue standard residents to the secure boats and a had broken loose at the mooring. Sicily have been struck by a powerful and sudden storm, leaving widespread damage, flooded streets and stranded residents in its wake. Torrential rain, strong winds exceeded 100 km/h and have plummeted cities from Palermo to Catania, turning roads into rivers and causing chaos in towns across the island. Residents reported being caught off guard by the intensity of the storm. "I never seen a rain came down like this in my life," say Maria Russo, a Palermo resident. "With the wind ripped off our shoulders and the streets filled with water within minutes." Emergency services were inundated with the calls, responded to fallen trees, blocked roads and damaged vehicles. Several small rivers in Catania and Messina overflowed, forcing evacuation in low-lying neighborhoods. Schools and public offices were closed, and local airports experienced flight cancellation due to heavy rainfall and poor visibility. Historic cities were also affected. In Palermo, parts of the old city separate minor flooded, while the Calendar and Trapper Massimo saw water slipping into Contiat. Bavaria was hit a severe hailstorm that caused chaos in the town and villages across the region. The storm, which swept across southern Germany late in the evening, pelted town with a hailstone the size of a golf ball, smashed windows, damaged cars, and injured dozens of residents. In Munich, town and buses were halted as hail covered the streets, and traffic on the abandoned slowed the standstill under the impact of the sea. In smaller town, roofs were damaged, and emergency service reported thousands of calls waiting with a few hours. Dozens of people were taken to hospital with cuts, burns, and heat injury caused by the flying debris in collapsing buildings. Witnesses described horrific scenes. The hail was so long that it's impossible to hear each other. Within minutes, our garden looked like it had snowed in summer. This is Thomas Sheldon, a resident of Augsburg. Video posted online showed cars covered in layer of ice and trees stripped in their lives in the storm. Bavaria agriculture sector was severely affected. Vineyards in Francolina, for fields in Helter, the large area of corn and wheat were destroyed in a matter of minutes. Farmers warned of crop losses that could reach hundreds of millions of euros. Public transportation was severely disrupted, leaving passengers stranded. The coastal area faced a boost with a storm and strong wave crashing against the coastline caused erosions to damage the sea definition. Emergency services are working around the clock to help those in need. The Italian Red Cross has mobilized a team to support the most affected areas, offering shelters and distributing basic necessities. Refuse operations are ongoing, with the reports of people trapped in their homes due to rising waters. Helicopters have been deployed to evacuate those to immediate danger. The impact of the storm on agriculture is also a growing concern. Sicily knows the serious growth of vineyard forces potential devastation. Initial estimates suggest significant crop losses, which could have the long-term economic impact of the region farming communities. Italian Prime Minister Conte has experienced solidarity with the affected residents, pledging government aid to resources to support recovery efforts. He praised the resilience of the Sicilian people and terrorist forced rescues. Meteorologists predict severe weather conditions will continue over the next 24 hours in advance residents to remain vigilant. As Sicily struggles with the aftermath and the disaster of focus to ensure the safety of the residents is beginning to arduous task to rebuilding. The full extent of the damage will become clear in the coming days, but for now Sicily is widespread the storm relentless onslaught. Germany was hit by its most severe hailstorm in the recent years, with giant ice pellets reaching 5 cm in diameter battered cities in towns of Bavaria and Baden-Württemberg. The storm, which erupted suddenly in the late afternoon, turned streets into rivers and ice caused severe damage of vehicles, roofs, and crops. Meteorological from the German Weather Service described the storm as high unusually from the time to year, explaining that atmospheric instability, the most air from the southern Europe, contributed to this formation. The meteorologist Anna Kira stated that was a classic example of supercell activity, adding the storm developing rapidly and dropped destructive hail within a minute. In Munich, windows shattered into pieces and vehicles were parked by the contrast hall as emergency service responded to hundreds of calls. Public transport was temporarily halted to clear debris and ice from the track. In rural area, vineyard and cornfields suffered extensive damage, with the initial estimates suggesting agriculture losses could exceed 15 million euros.